So this guy's obviously been radicalized. I saw an interview he did 2 years ago. Newsweek interviewed him in Ukraine because he went from Hawaii. He's an American citizen, went from Hawaii to Ukraine to help recruit people to fight in the Ukraine war. And the way he describes the Ukraine war is like a child. He says it's good versus evil. He has no idea how the war started. He has no idea what the motivations are. He has no idea how it was provoked, but he sees it as a fight between an existential fight between good and evil. And where did he get that idea? From the corporate media in the United States, which has lied us into every war in my lifetime. He also, if you look at his Twitter feed, he repeats the exact same talking points that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. So if you think someone's a threat to democracy, it almost makes it like the moral thing to do what he did.
Donald Trump said today that Democrats are trying to destroy our country and they are the enemy from within. You talk about dangerous rhetoric? Come on.
Let me bring in. All right, let me
You
bring
just
in
said
Jenna.
the exact same thing about Donald Trump.
Well, let me bring in Jenna.
In this one, we're going to start off with some comments from Louise Minch, who I believe is an American citizen, even though she has the British accent. And then we're going to move on to a debate between Jimmy Dore and Joe Walsh. Now, I split this one up to focus on the Jimmy Dore and Joe Walsh part of the debate. And part that I cut out is a comment from Joe Walsh where he calls Trump a threat to democracy multiple times. And I just wanted to point that out because it's relevant near the end, which I actually plan on including in a video coming out tomorrow. But for the sake of time, I broke this one up into two parts because that part is going to focus on Louise Minch basically debating Jenna Ellis. I don't want this video to be too long, so make sure to be on the lookout for that one. But I like this debate because Jimmy Dore is basically a defected Democrat, and Joe Walsh is basically a Republican that is now anti-Trump. So seeing the two clash in this manner is really fun for me, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it too. So let's go ahead and get her started.
The latest attempt on former President Trump's life was another cataclysmic event in which she's surely becoming one of the craziest election campaigns in history. Before last night's news broke, Trump arguably had the most torrid week of his campaign. But could this turn out to be a fortuitous turning point? I'm joined by Harris supporter and former Conservative MP Louise Minch, the former lawyer for Donald Trump, Jenna Ellis, the commentator and comedian Jimmy Dore, and the former Republican presidential candidate Joe Walsh. Well, welcome to all of you. Louise Minch, there's no doubt, if you look at last week, you would say that Trump had his worst week of this race. He lost the debate to Kamala Harris. There was a real momentum shift after that. Some of the stuff that came out of that debate, notably his claim that Haitian migrants are eating everyone's cats and dogs, became a sort of laughing stock of memes around the world. His friendship with Laura Loomer, the far-right loom ball, became a stick to beat him with. No one quite understands what she's doing anywhere near him, given the views that she has, and so on. And yet, right now, all anyone's talking about is another attempt on his life. And the way he responded again was extraordinary. You know, from all accounts that have come out, he was bundled down by the Secret Service, but his first thought when he was taken to safety was, what happened to the people I was with? And his second thought, apparently, according to Sean Hannity at Fox News, was that he was frustrated because he had a birdie putt and never got to take it, which is very Trump. But it also shows, again, that mentality that he showed after the first shooting, which is, you know, when he's literally under fire, he's got balls of steel. Americans like that. So last time we saw a bounce in the polls for Trump post the assassination attempt. Thank God he survived this one. But are you concerned as a Harris supporter that this will significantly change the momentum and narrative, right when you had him, perhaps where you wanted him?
I don't think so, but I also think that we've got to be really careful what we do as supporters of the other side, that we make absolutely no political capital out of this at all. In fact, both sides should be careful about that. Obviously, it is a disgrace that people are trying to silence the voice of the former president. And as somebody that wants...
Did you just frame two potential presidential assassinations as trying to silence his voice? Are you serious? No. They were trying to end his life. They're trying to remove his existence from the planet. And you know what's ironic about the statement that you just made about trying to silence Donald Trump's voice? Is that Donald Trump is actually the voice of the people. he's the one that listens to the Americans and stands up for them. So removing Donald Trump would not only be silencing his voice, it would be silencing the biggest mouthpiece that the American people have that they trust. Which goes back to what Donald Trump said years ago, in that they're not after him, they're after us.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. I'm not going to let it happen. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. And I just happen to be standing in their way. It's my honor to do so.
And as somebody that wants Kamala Harris to win, I'll be the first person to say that. We want to beat him at the ballot box. We do not want to beat him via a bullet. And the only thing that I can say that's good about it, first of all, his response was commendable. I don't have a problem with saying that. Second of all, it looks like the Secret Service got it together in ways that they very profoundly did not do the first time that he was nearly
I don't agree with that. I think one agent got it together. One agent had the sharp eyes and the quick wit to deal with what was going on. But the truth is, if you hadn't spotted the barrel of that rifle peering out of the bush, Trump would now almost certainly be dead, because the Secret Service once again had failed to properly protect the perimeter, which is the problem, which was the same problem with the rally when that kid got onto the roof.
Well, I would call this actual protection of the perimeter. That Secret Service agent did see it. It was in a suite before the president came out.
Yeah, but Louise, the guy had been there, it turns out, for 12 hours. They found from his cell phone, he'd literally been waiting at the #1 vantage point where the media go at that golf course to photograph Trump when he plays golf, because it gives them, ironically, the cleanest shot. In fact, the only clean shot you can get at that course, apparently. That's where this guy waited for 12 hours without anyone from Secret Service doing anything to find him, notwithstanding the fact that every week he's in Florida, Trump plays on that golf course. And notwithstanding the fact that 7 weeks ago, he got shot in the head.
Is playing so much golf during the middle of a presidential campaign. But wherever you set up a perimeter, Piers, it doesn't matter where it is. Wherever you set up the perimeter, it doesn't matter where it is. People are going to go beyond that perimeter of safety, and they're going to try and take a shot at the president. Now, Joe Biden did increase Secret Service budget, agents on Trump, everything.
They didn't set up a perimeter, Louise. They didn't set up any perimeter.
Behind the perimeter, it is behind the perimeter of where a former president, gets safety.
There was no perimeter. That's the point.
We should be happy about the fact that they got him. They caught him. There was no loss of life, thank God. And for all it turns out, this guy is a complete and utter lunatic. He doesn't know where he is politically. He's just demented. He's got main character syndrome.
And yeah, there he was. I want to bring in Jimmy. Jimmy Dore, I want to play some footage. This has just come in. This is footage of the suspect being apprehended by the police, the county police, who were acting on very good, quick-witted information from a member of the public who managed to photograph the car as it sped away from the golf club and got the number plate, the license plate, and they were able to then track the car very quickly and arrest this guy. But Jimmy, the truth is, Trump was shot 7 weeks ago. Everyone knows where he plays golf. And here's a guy waiting in a bush for 12 hours with an AK-47, a GoPro to film himself, and he came within 4 minutes, which is how far Trump was away from where he was situated and would have been going towards to play his shots on that hole, 4 minutes away from killing him. How has this happened?
Well, if you look at, if this was a Muslim terrorist or an Arab, people would be asking, where did he get radicalized? So this guy's obviously been radicalized. I saw an interview he did 2 years ago. Newsweek interviewed him in Ukraine because he went from Hawaii, he's an American citizen, went from Hawaii to Ukraine to help recruit people to fight in the Ukraine war. And the way he describes the Ukraine war is like a child. He says it's good versus evil. He has no idea how the war started. He has no idea what the motivations are. are. He has no idea how it was provoked, but he sees it as a fight between an existential fight between good and evil. And where did he get that idea? From the corporate media in the United States, which has lied us into every war in my lifetime. He also, if you look at his Twitter feed, he repeats the exact same talking points that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. So if you think someone's a threat to democracy, it almost makes it like the moral thing to do what he did. And where does he get those ideas? He gets them from the corporate media. He gets them from the establishment.
Right, but let me play chicken and the egg, Jimmy, because you're jumping ahead here. You're presenting the egg argument, not the chicken. Because clearly this guy's unhinged. He used to vote Trump, then he turned on Trump. He's been all over the place politically. He's mentally unwell because he wants to kill somebody. But the chicken part of this debate is, knowing all this, why on earth wasn't more done to stop a lunatic like him, armed with an AK-47, getting so close to Trump?
Here's my answer. My answer is they don't care if Donald Trump gets it. I mean, they, meaning the establishment. I mean, they said that they're not going to give him the Secret Service protection that he deserves because he's not a sitting president. If he was a sitting president, they would give him more Secret Service protection. But they're not doing that, even though he's already getting shot in the head on this one. You think they would have doubled it up, but it's because the establishment doesn't care. They want to get rid of Donald Trump, which is why they're doing 91 cases of lawfare, which is why they impeached him twice. They did January 6th. They did Russiagate. All that stuff is to try to get rid of Donald Trump, who's a thorn in the side of the establishment.
Did anyone else notice that Joe Walsh is sitting there shaking his head like he's got a fly buzzing around him or something like that? I mean, maybe it's because he stinks like shit. I don't know. But it's funny and ironic to me that this guy followed the same path as this last potential assassin, right? He used to support President Trump and then he turned his back on him. Now all he says is Trump is a threat to democracy. And it's weird that he sits there and shakes his head when Jimmy Dore's laying out the truth. He's laying out the facts of what got us to this point. And it can only be explained as a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. Like I said, it's weird.
Establishment.
Okay, Joe Walsh, you don't agree with that. So respond.
No, Piers, I'll give you a real simple answer to your question. That perimeter would have been locked down if Donald Trump was given the same level of security that a sitting president is given.
But why wasn't it?
So I think exactly. We are at a point, Piers, in this country, damn it, where the nominee for both major political parties should get the same level of security that a sitting president gets. And then all the streets around the golf course would have been blocked off. That never would have happened to Trump on that golf course when he was president. They should get the same amount of security.
Okay.
Period.
Now, what about Jimmy's second point, the egg part of the argument, which is that actually what happened is this guy got radicalized. There's no doubt. If you look at some of the language he used in his more recent social media posts, he was replicating language directly coming from Kamala Harris about Trump being this existential threat to democracy and so on. Do you see a problem there with the language that both sides have been using? I mean, yesterday morning before Trump went to the golf course, he tweeted completely out of nowhere, "I hate Taylor Swift." I don't know how that helps. I mean, we can all laugh, but Taylor Swift has millions of impressionable young fans. What if one of them's a bit of a lunatic? What if one of them goes, "Really? Well, I'm going to shoot you"? In other words, shouldn't it be incumbent on all candidates and everyone in the political world now, given 2 attempts on Trump's life, to dial everything down, to go back to debating issues, not saying things like, "I hate the biggest pop star in the world," or on the left, "Trump's the new Hitler"?
Yes, Piers, everything should be dialed down. I would argue that, these days, there's no greater purveyor of hate and a bigger inciter of violence than Donald Trump. Let's be clear about that. And Jimmy says they wanted him dead. The corporate establishment wanted him dead. Come on now, be better than that. That's dangerous and reckless. Look, I believe Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. I believe that, and I say that, and I'm not, and again, I say that knowing there are nuts out there, who could do anything, but I believe that, and a lot of Republicans who are voting for Harris believe that. Piers, Donald Trump said an hour ago that he blamed Harris and Biden for their rhetoric that led to this latest attempt. And you know what Trump said? Donald Trump said today that Democrats are trying to destroy our country and they are the enemy from within. You talk about dangerous rhetoric? Come on.
Let me bring in. All right, let me
You
bring
just
in
said
Jenna.
the exact same thing about Donald Trump.
Well, let me
said
bring
the
in
exact
Jenna.
same thing.
Let me bring in. Let me ask Jimmy this: Kamala Harris. I mean, we alluded to earlier the fact she doesn't give interviews. She gave a second one at the weekend to Action News' Brian Nath, and it was just a load of incomprehensible word salad. Let's take a look at some of it.
I wonder if there are one or two spots, policy areas or approaches where you would say, I'm a different person.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And, you know, I offer a new generation of leadership. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy where it's about investing in areas that really need a lot of work. And maybe focusing on, again, the aspirations and the dreams, but also just recognizing that at this moment in time, some of the stuff we could take for granted years ago, we can't take for granted anymore.
And she then goes on to talk about she grew up with people who were proud of their lawns and so on. I mean, Jimmy, if Trump can't beat Kamala Harris when she's this in interviews, there's something wrong with it. There's a reason she was so unsuccessful when she ran before to be the nominee. She's got this by default. And every time she actually has to answer questions about anything to do with policy, I would argue she's a complete disaster, to the point where I have to question Louise Mensch's sanity in being so keen to support her, given Ms. Mensch's former life as a Conservative member of Parliament in this country. But we can come to that another time. But Jimmy, my point is, Trump couldn't really wish for a better opponent, could he, than a progressive left-wing word salad spewer. And yet all we're talking about all the time with Trump is stuff that she's goaded him into saying, which has been very smart, by the way.
Yes, Donald Trump seems like he's doing his best to try to lose this election. You know, when that question was given to him where he answered about dogs and cats, it was a question about immigration, and that's a winner for him. All he had to do was say, yes, Kamala Harris was such a bad border czar and opened our border to millions and millions of illegal immigrants that now she wants to pretend she wasn't the border czar. He could have just ended it there. He would win. But of course, Donald Trump, being who he is, he had to take it a little farther. And he said the thing about cats and dogs. And as soon as he said it, I said on my show, this is all anybody's going to be talking about now. They're not going to be talking about the actual issue. But I just think it's ironic that they say that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy when Kamala Harris was installed by the elite without any votes from the voting public. In fact, they threw out 14 million votes and the primary as they forced him out in a coup, in a soft coup of Joe Biden. So that's the irony here. We have someone running for president that the first time she ran, nobody voted for, and absolutely nobody voted for this time. So there's the irony. If you want to talk about, it's the most undemocratic thing that's ever happened in this country, and everybody's cheering it on like it's fantastic.
You know what, Louise?
Speaking of threats to democracy.
Joe?
Piers, final word. The other big story of the weekend was J.D. Vance admitted over the weekend that he was lying about the Haitians are eating cats and dogs. J.D. Vance admitted that. Donald Trump lied about it. And to your point, Piers, there have been bomb threats. Schools have been shut down. Haitians are fearing for their life right now because of a lie spread by Trump and J.D. Vance.
He, to be fair to J.D. Vance, says he didn't claim he made up stories. He was creating a story which he knew would be of interest. That's an ambiguous phrase, creating, right? It maybe is creating something for us to talk about, may not be the same as inventing it. But either way, there is no evidence that Haitian migrants eat their neighbors' cats and dogs.
And that just goes to show how out of touch Piers Morgan is with reality. There's plenty of videos of these type of activities going on, and there's even more videos of people in that neighborhood, people in that town, claiming that these things are going on. I'm not going to show any of the videos. You can find them on X. So Donald Trump, when he said that during the debate, is an example of how Donald Trump listens to the people. And he is the mouthpiece for the people, and that is a great example. And what they want to do is they're going to make fun of him over it, and they're going to try to make memes and all this stuff like that. But the reality is, he's listening to the citizens. He's listening to the American citizens that live in that city whom are claiming that this is what's going on. People that have lived there all their lives. You can call them a liar if you want, but the fact is, they live there, and that's their claim. So who are you to say that they're lying? Who are you to say that they're wrong if you're not somebody that lives there? And why do the Haitian immigrants supersede? Why are they more important than the American citizens that have lived there their entire lives? I mean, the claims that there's all this stuff going on in that city with threats and everything like that, and it's affecting only the Haitian citizens. It affects everybody there, and that's the problem. Everybody there is being affected by the Haitians moving there. Now, I'm all for legal immigration. I don't like how everybody's coming over here and claiming asylum when it doesn't even fit the legal outline for asylum. And that also enables them to have work visas and things like that whenever they're put on asylum, which backs up our court system and requires more federal employees to come in and be hired to run these courts and everything like that, which I'm for smaller government, not bigger government, okay? Especially when it's funded by my tax dollars, my federal tax dollars. And look, I don't live there, so I can't say it is or isn't happening. But what I can say is that the people that live in this town, Springfield, Ohio, are claiming that the influx of Haitian migrants that have come to their city is causing them problems. It's not just the cats and dogs things. It's the fact that these people are wrecking their cars, driving on the wrong side of the road. All the things that are being claimed in these videos have validity to it, in my opinion, because it's being said by the neighbors. It's being said by the people that have lived there before, after, and during this influx of immigrants coming to their town. I watched a video the other day of a guy going around interviewing locals and interviewing the Haitian migrants, and every Haitian migrant says, oh, I don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the cats and dogs, but they also all say that they're there because there's jobs. Well, where are these jobs? Because the people that live there, that have lived there forever, somehow can't seem to get a job. So you would think that if there's all these jobs, the people that live in the city would be working and flourishing and be in need of more people coming to the town, whether it be immigrants or not, in order to fill these positions. But I think the reality of it is these people that can't find jobs are holding out for these jobs to offer more pay so that the pay actually matches up to their living wage that they need. And instead, these immigrants are being imported into their town and they're working for less, thus cutting off the American citizens at the knees from being able to make a wage at a job in their own town that provides for their needs. Exemplifying the fact that the Democratic Party is the party of big tech, big business, rather than for the American people. Because if they were for the American people, they would be listening to them and addressing the issues, rather than just trying to make the unemployment numbers look better by sticking illegal immigrants or migrants or whatever into these positions where American citizens have been holding out for better wages, better pay, better offers, better deal, better health insurance plans, better whatever. So I'm going to leave it right there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video and leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.